Imagine having like infinite guitar feedback right there at your fingertips, perfectly controlled, and get this, at any volume. Sounds kind of like a dream, doesn't it?
Totally. Something you usually only get blasting away on a huge stage.
Exactly. Well, for a fascinating, maybe kind of brief period, one pedal actually tried to make that elusive dream happen for, well, for every guitarist. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Hey, everyone.
Today we're plunging into the quirky, ambitious, and ultimately kind of cult classic story of maybe an unsung hero of guitar effects.
Yeah.
The Boss DF2 Super Feedbacker and Distortion pedal.
That little orange box.
That's the one. Our mission for this deep dive is really to uncover the story behind Boss's, well, pretty bold attempt to give guitarists artificial feedback. We'll look at its surprising origins, a little bit of legal drama.
Oh, yeah, the name thing.
Right. And why, even though it was kind of divisive at first, it became such a sought-after piece of music history.
Yeah, in the vast world of guitar pedals, innovation so often comes from trying to mimic something or enhance or even control natural stuff, right?
Like reverb simulating a room.
Exactly. Or tremolo mimicking an amp pulse. The DF2 really stands out as a prime example of a company pushing those boundaries, trying to bottle something as wild and honestly unpredictable as amplifier feedback.
And put it right under your foot.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It was a truly unique approach to a very familiar problem for guitarists. How do you get that awesome, searing, sustained note without, deafening everyone?
Okay, let's unpack this incredible, almost kind of futuristic idea for back then. The Boss DF2 Super Feedbacker and Distortion. It first showed up in 1984, right?
Yep, B4.
And it stuck around for about 10 years before Boss pulled the plug in 94.
That's right. A decent run, but not forever like some of their pedals.
And from the start, Boss had this audacious, almost revolutionary goal: controlled infinite feedback at any volume.
That any volume part is key.
Totally. And they didn't just stop there. They bundled it with a built-in distortion effect, too, which was pretty clever.
Combining functions?
Because, usually when you think feedback, you think loud, like stadium loud, maybe a bit chaotic.
Unpredictable, yeah.
So the idea you could conjure that soaring, wailing note in your bedroom while practicing quietly, or like use it precisely on stage without cranking your amp to meltdown levels.
And getting glared at by the sound guy.
Ah, exactly. That alone makes it a really remarkable bit of engineering and just imagination, really.
And what's truly fascinating is how Boss actually tackled this. It wasn't just a completely new thing built from scratch.
Oh.
At its heart, the DF2 was basically, well, a modified version of one of their absolute classics, the DS1 Distortion.
No way! The orange distortion everyone knows.
That's the one. So its distortion section shared a very similar design foundation. Same kind of op amp, similar diode clipping circuit.
Okay.
So when you kicked on the distortion part, you were getting that familiar, crunchy, slightly mid-scooped tone that Boss is famous for.
Right, that classic rock sound. Punchy.
Exactly. Mid-scooped just means it kind of pulls back those middle frequencies, makes the highs and lows pop a bit more, gave it a really solid, recognizable starting point, sound-wise.
So it was like taking a classic pedal and giving it this secret superpower.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
So tell us about that superpower then, the feedback synthesizer. How did that actually work? What made it so different?
Okay, so while the distortion was familiar territory, it was absolutely that unique feedback synthesizer circuit that set it apart. That's where the Super Feedbacker name really came from.
Right.
And it wasn't just a tweak. It was a whole separate, dedicated circuit designed just to simulate feedback. The real magic happened when you held the foot switch down.
Instead of just tapping it on and off.
Exactly. Holding it down triggered this sophisticated synthesizer circuit. And what it did was generate a sustained feedback overtone on top of the note you were already playing.
An overtone?
Yeah. Its whole purpose was to simulate natural amp feedback, but, and this is the crucial bit, with complete control and at any volume.
Okay.
Which made it super practical. Whether you're a bedroom player messing around late at night or a pro needing that specific sound on stage without the usual hassle of finding the amp's sweet spot.
So what kind of note was it making? Was it just your original note, but louder and longer? Or something else?
That's a great question, and it's really key to understanding its unique sound and, honestly, why some people didn't quite dig it.
Okay.
The feedback note from the synthesizer was typically a harmonic overtone, not just the root note you played.
Meaning?
So if you played, say, a C note, the pedal might generate a sustained G note that's a perfect fifth above, or maybe a higher C, an octave up, or even more complex harmonics sometimes.
Huh. So it had this almost singing quality, like a controlled sustain.
Exactly. A singing, soaring kind of sustain.
Mm.
Not the wild, sometimes screechy feedback you get naturally from a cranked amp.
Yeah.
It was precise, yeah, but also inherently kind of, synthesized sounding.
Which led to some debate, I guess.
Definitely. We'll get to that. But control-wise, it was pretty simple. You had your level knob for volume, tone for EQ, distortion for gain.
Standard stuff.
Yeah. And that feedback function, just hold the pedal down. Super accessible, really, considering what it was doing under the hood.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting. And maybe a little bit spicy, legally speaking.
Yeah, the naming incident.
I heard that when it first came out, it had a slightly different name, one that caused a bit of a stir. Tell us about that. How did super distortion become, like, a problem?
It absolutely did. So when it first launched in Japan back in '84, the pedal was actually called the DF2 Super Distortion and Feedbacker.
Ah, super distortion. That sounds familiar.
It should. DiMarzio, the famous pickup company, had owned the trademark for their mega-popular Super Distortion humbucker pickup for years.
Yeah.
It was already iconic in rock and metal.
Right, a classic pickup.
And, well, DiMarzio wasn't exactly thrilled about Boss using their trademark name on a pedal. Understandably, brand protection and all that.
So a classic trademark fight brewing. Did they end up in court?
It could have gone that way, but Boss played it smart, maybe. It didn't take long for DiMarzio to file a complaint about the name.
Okay.
But rather than getting to a big, potentially expensive legal battle, Boss just quickly decided to rename it.
To what we know now.
Exactly. They changed it pretty fast to the Super Feedbacker and Distortion. It's this fascinating little footnote in pedal history, shows how seriously companies guard their names.
Wow. And that little legal hiccup actually makes a difference now for collectors, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's directly linked.
Because those very first Japanese ones, the ones actually labeled Super Distortion and Feedbacker, they must be super rare.
They are incredibly rare and highly collectible. They're kind of the holy grail for certain Boss collectors. It just shows how these little historical details, like a legal issue and a quick name change, can massively affect the value and desirability of vintage gear years later.
Like finding a misprinted stamp or something.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Finding one of those original Super Distortion versions is like unearthing a little treasure. But honestly, even the standard DF2s, the Super Feedbacker ones, are pretty sought after today.
Just because the effect itself is so unique.
Exactly. There really wasn't anything else quite like it from Boss, before or since, so it secured its place as this quirky, but definitely beloved piece of kit.
Yeah, connecting this to the bigger picture. It really shows how sometimes innovation finds its own little corner, even if it's not a massive hit right away. It sounds like the DF2 didn't exactly fly off the shelves like, say, the DS1 did.
You're right. It didn't become totally ubiquitous like the DS1.
Yeah.
While the DF2 definitely got attention for being so novel, it also got its fair share of criticism back then.
Why is that? The synthesized sound?
Pretty much. Some
Mhm.
players just found that synthesized feedback too.
Yeah.
Was synthetic. Too artificial compared to the raw, organic, kind of chaotic feedback you get from a real amp pushed hard.
Lacked the danger.
Maybe. It didn't have that unpredictable, alive feeling of natural feedback. So yeah, it didn't achieve that same legendary status as some other Boss pedals. Even the DS1 it was kind of based on. It was a bold idea, but maybe not what everyone expected from a feedback effect.
But even with those mixed reviews early on, it definitely found its people, didn't it? Who were the players that really embraced it? What did they like about it?
Oh, it absolutely found a cult following, though maybe not instantly.
Yeah.
The players who really got into it were often looking for something very specific, something beyond just, normal feedback sounds.
Like who?
Well, think about guitarists like Steve Vai back in the early 80s.
Yeah.
He was always experimenting with sustain and feedback tones,
Yeah.
pushing the guitar into new places.
Right, known for sonic exploration.
The DF2 would have given him a totally new way to do that, layering sustained harmonics with pinpoint control. And then a bit later, heading into the 90s, you really see its influence, or at least the idea of its effect, hitting hard in genres like shoegaze.
My Bloody Valentine territory.
Exactly. Kevin Shields. I mean, a true pioneer of using pedals in dense textural ways. You can hear DM2-like effects, that kind of controlled harmonic sustain,
Yeah.
woven into those incredible MBV soundscapes.
Creating those walls of sound.
Precisely. Shoegaze and other experimental players really valued it for sustaining specific harmonics, building these thick ambient washes of sound. It really let them push the guitar way beyond its usual role.
Huh.
So yeah, carved out a very specific, very influential niche. Shows how even a divisive pedal can become vital for a whole genre.
That's amazing how something maybe niche at first becomes a key tool for a whole movement. And despite that cult status, it got discontinued in 94.
Yep.
And crucially, Boss never reissued it.
Right.
You can't get a Waza Craft DF2 or anything.
That's right. It's kind of a standalone moment in Boss history. They've reissued tons of classics, but the DF2 remains this unique one-off. But, the idea behind it, the idea of synthesized controllable feedback, that didn't completely vanish when the DF2 was discontinued.
How so?
Well, while Boss hasn't revisited it directly in that form, the concept lives on. You look at modern pedals like the Digitech Freakout.
Yeah, I know that one.
It offers a pretty similar core function, right? Letting players create controlled feedback without needing loud amps or specific positioning. It uses different tech, usually digital and more sophisticated now, but the fundamental goal is there.
So the spirit of the DF2 lives on, even if the pedal itself doesn't.
Exactly. It kind of raises that interesting question about how ideas evolve in the gear world. Even if a specific product disappears, its core innovation can persist and reappear in new forms. The DF2's quest for controllable sustain definitely has spiritual successors.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway here for you listening? The Boss DF2 story. It's more than just a quirky pedal, isn't it?
Definitely.
It feels like a reminder that real innovation often goes against the grain. It shows that even if an idea isn't universally loved right away, or if it hits like legal snags and name changes,
Yeah.
its unique abilities can still spark new genres, inspire players like Vi or Shields to make incredible music, and eventually become this highly sought-after, almost mythical piece of gear history.
Well said.
It kind of teaches us to look past the initial reaction to see the lasting impact, maybe.
Exactly. The DF2 really exemplifies that constant push, that relentless drive guitarists have to get specific sounds, sometimes really unconventional sounds. It shows that sometimes the most innovative tools aren't the immediate best sellers, but they can still leave a huge mark, influence whole genres, open up totally new sonic doors. It reminds us there's always value in exploring weird approaches to sound, even if they aren't the obvious path.
It's about those brave attempts adding to the whole musical picture.
Totally.
So the Boss DF2's journey, it kind of reminds us that sometimes the most groundbreaking ideas aren't always loved at first glance. Its story is proof that creative folks keep pushing boundaries, even if it means taking a path not everyone gets right away.
Yeah.
So as you're listening to music, maybe with slightly retuned ears after this, maybe ask yourself what other unconventional tools, what other sonic experiments might be hiding out there in plain sight, just waiting for their moment to shape music in ways we don't expect yet.
Keep those ears open.
Definitely. Keep listening for those hidden sonic gems. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.